Welcome back to the show, Reds. Welcome back to the Shankly Sessions. Of course, it's part of the upper tier. If you could subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and drop a like on the video, would be absolutely excellent. One of the biggest games of the season, always the two biggest games. You know yourself, when the fixtures come out, what do we look for? Man United home and away as Liverpool fans. They're the biggest games of the season, really, regardless of what's on here. And you know, you look at this game that's coming up. United have just been absolutely amazing since Carrick came in. Really, he's been absolutely phenomenal. The players are performing well above where they were. Amarin must be looking at these players going, what the hell, even though some of them he kind of binned off. You know, Mainu has come in, he's been absolutely excellent, signing a new contract. You have Bruno there on the cusp of the assist record. You know, so much positivity coming out of the club. Still questions on whether Carrick should be the manager. He's the interim at the moment. Will he get the full-time gig? Will they save some of that money by giving him the full-time gig and use that money to boost the squad again and go into the market again? Back in Champions League, you would imagine that United will have to bolster that squad for the 2 games a week then coming up next season. But always a great game, regardless of what's on the line. And on this one, it's really bragging rights and third spot really up for grabs. That's really it. If you look at the top 5 race and the 5th spot being confirmed and all for the Champions League, you look at the sensational drop-off of Chelsea. I don't think either Brighton or Brentford have enough to jump up into that top 5. If anything, I think Villa might slide slightly, but not out of the top 5. Chelsea, of course, would be praying for that to happen. That Villa would come 5th and then win the Europa. They're a goal down to Forest at the moment after the first leg. But if they were to do that, then Chelsea might shithouse in that 6th spot into the Champions League. Who knows the permutations that might happen. But it's a big game tomorrow, 3:30, Old Trafford. Darren's going to be over there sending us in some footage as always. Team news, reaction, all that kind of stuff. I think in the last decade, I don't think I've gone into a match so kind of pessimistic, and this is on the back of a reasonable run for us at the moment. But again, context is key on that run, because if you do look at the results and if you look at the results, you would think that we've just come off that roundabout of that corner maybe a little bit and turned it. But if you actually look at the games and you look at the chances that are being offered up, it's kind of really feels more of the same, but we've just gotten away with it in terms of we've just taken our chances at key times. Like you look at that Palace game last week, I mean, how Palace didn't get out for that game is a madness, really, isn't it? When you think of the chances they created, we were really under the cosh. Obviously struggles within the squad at the moment. Obviously Salah, I'm not too sure if he comes back for that final game or not. I'm not too sure. They're putting out videos now. Some of the videos are being excellent. The ex-players and pundits and all talking about him. And what a sensational player he's been, especially for us. He's just been amazing. No one could have predicted what Mo Salah achieved. But you look at this game, this is a big game on Sunday, and boy, we could have done with Mo Salah, because boy does he love a goal at Old Trafford. And then you kind of think, well, where's it going to come from then? Where are we going to lie on this? You know what I mean? You're going to have probably Gakpo on the left. You're going to have Isaac up front. You're going to have Verts just in behind. Probably Frimpong on the right. You know, which means you're probably going to have Dom in the right back position. And to be honest, I think I'd nearly reverse that. For this game, I think I'd reverse that. I'd put Frimpong in the right back, like a right, you know, inverting a little bit, and I'd have Dom up in that right position. We're going to need Dom. The issue for us is in this midfield. You know, we've had a sensational drop-off in midfield, which has really been a lot of our Achilles heel, even though we've been so blunt up front between injuries and players just not firing this season. But that midfield as well has been a real Achilles heel. It's been a real kind of walkthrough. You look at Gravenberch, absolute shadow of the player he was last season. You look at McAllister, sensational drop-off. Even at times in pockets of the season, he's looked more like the old McAllister, tenacious in the battle and all that kind of stuff, but more often than not just getting ran through. Curtis Jones will give you what he gives you, very technical and stuff like that and all, and again, you know, up for it and stuff and all, but again, I don't know. you look at their midfield there, you've got Bruno in there, you've got Kobe in there, Casemiro, you know, and Casemiro has just been absolutely sensational. And I think on a different pay scale, I think they would be definitely looking to renew him and keep him in there, especially if the thinking is a Belieber or an Anderson or whatever it is. Surely to God you would love the experience of a Casemiro there, at least for a season, to line out beside Belieber, to just give him that bit of, you know, that bit of coaching. We always talking about, like in the wrestling, that we love the passing of the torch, and I think that would be key for them. But I think that midfield is going to be where the key battle is. I think if you look at both defences, I don't think there's a huge amount between them. I think both on the day can stay tight and compact, but I also think both on the day will cough up chances. I think depending on the keeper, there is talk that Alisson might be back. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're still going to be with the boy Woodman, who has done really well since he came in, let's be honest. He's had some really good games, so I wouldn't be overly worried. I'd probably prefer if Alisson was available, just like Salah, because it's a different name and a different thinking within the mentality of the opposition when you have that player on the pitch. But Freddie's come in and he's done really, really well. But again, you look at the boy Lamans, who's come in for United, young lad. You know, he's taken that jersey, he's shouldered it. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's a very safe pair of hands. You know, doesn't do a whole lot wrong, has decent distribution. You know, doesn't get phased by the crash the box pieces and corners and stuff like that. No, just rises above it and tends to catch the ball clean and stuff. So he's been really, really good for United, and he'll turn out to be an excellent signing, and probably has many, many years ahead of himself there at United now, potentially as the number one, I would say. And especially with what United have gone through over the last 4 or 5 seasons, when you look at Onana, when you look at Binder, you know, just absolute bozos. So you have no confidence at all. But you look at the job Carragher's done there, you know, and you know, this pains me as a Liverpool fan to keep on putting this out there, but he's really squeezed that orange into the blender, hasn't he? And he's really got an extra 20, nearly 30% out of these players in some circles. As you look at Harry Maguire, looks like he's turning back the clock. You know, Yoro is progressing lovely as a central defender. You know, Luke Shaw, okay, he's not. I think he's out because he's not fit. He came off injured or whatever it was. But you look at Luke Shaw, looks more of the player and has been fitter for a little bit longer. You know, and the history of Carragher at the club and stuff like that will carry a little bit of weight with these players and stuff. And you know, for them to go from 15th to 3rd in that kind of a turnaround, considering, you know, a lot of their season was under Amarim, and it was very negative and very controlled and very boxed in, and I don't think players are allowed to express themselves, and that's why it was restrictive within the system that these players are unfamiliar with. And that's why the likes of Kobe Manu, who's kind of that kind of, I describe him as one of those kind of into business for yourself free kind of players that gets us out of our seat. You seen that run the other day, and the pass to Ahmad, and only for it didn't count, or it was an offside, whatever it was, it didn't score. That would have been spoke about. What a sensational dribble and what a sensational pass. And I think, and this is where I give United their flowers, and everyone knows, you know, by me as well, you know, there's no love lost between me and Man United or Man United fans. I like to get stuck in when I can get stuck in, but I also like to be fair, you know, as a content creator and stuff like that. And I don't think, while there's so much talk obviously about Spurs in the relegation battle, obviously, and while there's so much talk obviously in the title race, and so there should be between Arsenal and Man City, I think United going from 15th to 3rd and back in the Champions League, I don't think it's spoken about enough. I think that's absolutely sensational. And sensational on the level where you think about, for most of the season they've had Amarin there, who absolutely put the shackles on them, there's no doubt about it. So imagine if they had Carrick all season, or much more part of the season. Let's say Carrick let's say he had to come in around, you know, the November period or something like that. I think, and I don't think it's a stretch either, I think with the drop off in Liverpool, the drop off in Chelsea, you know, Spurs in the relegation zone, you know, Aston Villa flying high but always kind of have a drop off at this point in the season. It's just what happens with them, you know. I think United would be in the title race, and I don't think that's a stretch to think that United would have, I don't know what it is, 10 more points, 12 more points if Carrick had been in charge for a much more bigger proportion of those games, you know. And they'll go into the market again because they'll have the Champions League money, and they'll be able to fill little voids and little pockets, and, you know, update that squad and stuff like that, and they could be quite the force next season. So that's kind of the definition of this game. What I'm talking about here is basically it's really just bragging rights for third spot. Always a big game. Liverpool, Man United, Liverpool, two biggest games of the season, I believe. Everyone watches it, everyone gets excited about it, whether you're a fan of either club or not. If you're a fan of football, this is a game everyone watches. But I think going into this game, I think the real issue is that we're not in a very good place. There's lots of talk about the manager, there's lots of talk about the squad, there's players leaving. Now, I'm sure Robbo would want to put in a shift tomorrow and absolutely stick it to United in his last game against them. But I think it's going to be very difficult. I think where we have, there's a sprinkling of positivity with a lot of negativity because of how the season has gone. And I think our front line isn't firing at all. We've got Gakpo there, who hasn't been very, very good. We've got Isaac, which we don't know what we're going to get yet because he's been out for most of the season, and when he has been in, he's been okay at best. You've got Florian Wirtz, who at times doesn't tend to show up for the big games and struggles and kind of finds himself out of those kind of games. And again, United will try and bully him tomorrow. The likes of Casemiro and stuff like that will just give him a torturous time. And when that happens, sometimes he doesn't fancy it. At times he's easily taken off the ball as well. But he's going to be the guy that we'll be leaning on in terms of creativity. I don't expect Slot to go against the form and not pick his love child Gakpo and go with Rio. Rio might be that guy that could light it up later on for 20-25 minutes, who knows. I hate saying this. I really hate saying this. This boils my blood having to say this. And I said it the other night on the show as well. I wouldn't be surprised at all if United win this 3-1. Because I think United are on an upward trajectory. They're very, very positive at the moment. And I think we just feel like it's a season that's running out, that's quite stale. And let's be honest, you know, and it's not a stretch either. I reckon we're reasonably comfortable in the top 5 because of the drop off in Chelsea. I think Chelsea have been so poor, they've just handed it to us, really. They've just really surrendered it. I think if we were in a battle with Chelsea for that top 5, I think it could be a very different conversation. So that's what I think. I think United are going to win. You know, I'd be reasonably happy with a draw, to be honest. You know what I mean? Considering where they are and the trajectory they're on, and considering where we are. Even though we're coming in and the form guide looks good, I just don't think we're in that mindset at the moment. And this is a big game. It's always a big game. But I just think at the moment for us it's going to be a struggle. We'll probably try and keep it tight, but they'll probably find a way to open us up as they do, you know. So I don't know. For me, it's kind of like it's a difficult one, and it's going to be a difficult one. I can't see anything other than United win, and you know I hate going against my own team. I hate it. You know what I mean? So let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let us know what you think on the starting lineup, and also let us know your predictions. Can you see a way where Liverpool wins this? If we win it, I think top 5 is in the bag. The other thing is, if we win it, I think we have an opportunity to go third, which would be massive, considering how our season has played out. If you could, folks, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification button, and of course drop a like on the video. This has been your Man United Liverpool preview. It's on the Shankly Sessions, and get ready, we'll give you the actual reaction as well, no doubt. Talk to you again real soon. Have a great weekend.